Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. While it might be fun to only look at DC Challenge once a year, keep it going for another decade, well, each issue is going to add just more and more complexity to it, so it might be best to sometimes cover more than one annually. As a quick refresher, DC Challenge is the round-robin style comic where a different creative team takes over each issue without having consulted the others and tries to build on it in the hope of telling a cohesive story. However, since this was right before Crisis on Infinite Earths, a lot of the creators just decided, screw it, I'm gonna dig up some obscure DC character to play with because I may never get a chance to again. Ah, the sweet naivete that DC won't continually reboot the universe or bring out obscure characters for retcons or the like. Or that Grant Morrison won't exist. While I could provide a recap of the events of issue 2, well, the comic will actually do that for us, so we might as well just jump in and see how the cliffhanger, Jonah Hex in a car about to hit some pedestrians, gets resolved. I've got a feeling that in the end, the most enduring legacy of this book is the revelation of Batman's hatred of VHS tapes and preference for beta. Let's dig into DC Challenge number 3 and see how many more new characters start overcomplicating this thing.
Atop the fourth wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man, punch, sporadically a grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. A universe in flux, Linkara. This comic sucks, Linkara.
The cover's okay. We're continuing our question mark thing, this time with Superman, Hawkgirl, Jonah Hex, Aquaman, and Adam Strange inside of it, while the surrounding characters are hanging off of it or trying to get around it, including this weird giant green monster thing that has both reptilian scales and a mutton chop beard. Evolution was not kind to you, was it, dude? Reaching for some caveman and an unconscious Hawkman and some women looking up. The caveman thing is actually really weird because reading ahead, it's not a caveman, so I don't know why the artist decided to go with this. Anyway, we open on that character, not directly leading into the cliffhanger resolution. No, this time our writer is Doug Mensch, whom we might recall from a lot of bad comics on this show, like Sci-Spy and JLA Act of God, and some okay ones, like the Batman Vampire trilogy that Moarte looked at a few years ago. Go check those out, it'll make him happy, especially as he sets up his stupid show soon. I'm going to turn your cats into my familiars and have them claw your eyes out. And I'll turn your damn long box into a litter box. Anywho, he decided on a really obscure character to put a spotlight on here. The Viking Prince, aka John Haraldson. Well, I say he's obscure, but not apparently to DC writers, who kept having him appear even as recently as the Endless Winter event. Basically, he's an historical fiction character who actually originally appeared in the first issue of Brave and the Bold. Long story short, he is indeed a Viking prince who fell in love with a Valkyrie. Odin forbid them from being together and made him invulnerable to all weapons so he couldn't be killed in battle and reunite with her. Occasionally, characters time travel and meet him, or he time travels to the present day himself. And honestly, I kinda wish there was an ongoing series where he's, like, quantum leaping through time or something, like a Viking Doctor Who. But yeah, we start off with the Viking Prince doing a night watch. However, a horn starts blaring. The signal horn, to be sounded only when a ship breaches the fjord. and yet no ship approaches, nor does anyone man the horn. Someone's gonna jump up and blow an air horn right in his face. Confused how the horn could have blown, he spots a strange glow coming from the Rune Cavern, which is their most sacred of places, where the songs and stories of our skalds are carved into the solid rock walls. Unfortunately, that also includes the really terrible ones too. The last single by Scalding Oil was like 8 minutes long and really whiny. I hear the remix on the Southwest Cave Wall was better though. And then this guy shows up. Ah, yes, hardly a euphonious tintinnabulation from that overgrown axe of Gabriel, especially without wetting one's whistle in anticipatory fashion. But otherwise, it is mollifying to so egregiously indulge one's entertainment fantasies, is it not? Oh, indeed it is. Who the hell are you? The caveman spots some dude using some kind of laser on a wall. That stick emitting strange fire, causing the glow. The sacred runes. What are you doing to them? My God, you're changing the ending to my screenplay. Now the third act is useless. He's actually cutting out a piece of the wall, and when closer, the Viking Prince recognizes the guy as Hrolf, a guy who is very much dead. And then a purple spirit, much like the ones we'd seen previously, emerges from his body. Some manner of demon, flowing from his chest! And now Hrolf's body falls lifeless as the demon attacks me! And now I'm narrating what's going on out loud in a very unnatural manner! You were expecting profuse solicitude, perchance? Who? The appellation is Cuthbert J. McGonagall. Oh. Who? As has happened a few times before, I went to Twitter for this, and it's baffling. Best guess from people is that, much like the dead celebrities we saw in the previous issues like Groucho Marx and Humphrey Bogart, this is supposed to be actor/comedian W.C. Fields. But for some reason, they don't just come out and say it's W.C. Fields. Instead, they combined the names of two of his characters he played, Cuthbert J. Twilly and the Great McGonagall. So naturally, this portmanteau of W.C. Fields' character names is hanging out in Viking times and narrating loudly. You know, eventually this book will explain everything, and yet I can't help but feel that no explanation is ever going to be satisfying. McGonagall picks up the broken wall and tosses it at the Viking Prince, who instinctively drops his weapon to catch it. This allows an opening for the purple spirit thing to knock him out. McGonagall then takes out a laser of his own, why not just use that on the Viking Prince, and shoots it at his body to eliminate the evidence, by imbuing and otherwise inculcating the lance with that which is the transmogrified essence of the corpus delicti. Ah, yes. The lambency of his life force will inexorably fade from the instrument which so felicitously sheathes it.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
What I think he was saying from that thesaurus of dialogue is that he somehow transforms the Viking Prince into energy and seals that energy inside of his weapon, a lance, and then tosses the lance deeper into the cave for it to be discovered in a few hundred years. Okay, why is his official title The Viking Prince and not Captain Time Travel or Rip Van Winkle Man? Anyway, time to finally recap events, done in the style of a progress report from the aliens that Floyd Perkins, a guy at the Daily Planet, had discovered in the first issue. Subject Floyd, Daily Planet copyboy, accidentally barged in on briefing 23. He was ejected for having forgotten to bring donuts. Soon thereafter, and according to plan, Gotham was threatened with nuclear annihilation. Subject Batman eliminated the threat by cutting the power cables to the city. And as a reminder, the nuke was stored in the Betamax player in his house. My quest against VHS tapes been wrong this whole time? Was Betamax actually the real evil? No, they were just corrupting the holy and pure Beta with their evil scheme. He was left with two clues. A stone tablet concerning the knights of old. The answers can be found at Castle and a cryptic sequence of numbers, thus one of the inspirations for Lost. Meanwhile, as a result of the earthquake at the San Diego Zoo, the mythological manticore rose up from a fissure, and when last seen, held Subject Congorilla in one hand and Subject Bowana Beast in the other, crushing the life from both. Congorilla made it weird when he suddenly yelled out, "Harder, Daddy." Still, it did get the manticore to stop. At the same time, Subject Aquaman took what were possibly his last steps across the scorching Sahara Desert. Should he fail to come in contact with his native element of water within an hour, vultures will feast. If he succeeds, vultures will order takeout. On the moon, Subject Superman punched Mongol into the relay device, causing it to explode. In retrospect, making our relay out of old Galaxy Note 7s was a bad idea. When the smoke cleared, the Kryptonian found nothing but a crater, and the symbol of someone dead.
Why is the symbol for Google Stadia in here?
Subject Jonah Hex, catapulted through time to 1985, was trapped in a swerving vehicle, and that is the current status of Project X. Although we're thinking of turning it into a found footage movie instead. So, to sum up, aliens are hiding in the Daily Planet building, Batman is foiling plots to nuke Gotham, a giant manticore is rising up to fight a gorilla and a guy with animal fusion powers, Aquaman is in the desert being attacked by vultures, Superman's fighting despots on the moon, Jonah Hex has time traveled and is now in an out-of-control car, and finally, W.C. Fields is transforming Vikings into weapons to be found centuries later.
Is this the human condition of madness, leader? It is.
Anywho, we start to get something of an explanation for the dead celebrities like Groucho Marx we've been seeing, as after the report concludes, it seems the aliens have actually been watching TV. The Maltese Falcon is currently on and showing Humphrey Bogart and Peter Lorre. Whoever these guys are, it seems they're copying the images, at least, of people they've seen on TV. So the true enemy here is Turner Classic Movies? Mongol, having escaped his battle with Superman, has shown up at the alien's base, where he's berated for leaving a clue for Superman. I want you to get back to their moon with another relay device at once, or Project X will never be successfully completed. Ugh, at this point, it's going to end up being a teen comedy or something. The next caption says, back on Earth. So I guess the aliens aren't operating out of the Daily Planet anymore? Anyway, point is, Jonah Hex realizes the steering wheel will control the car and swerves out of the way of the pedestrians. Though, like the Viking Prince, he feels the need to exposit all this out loud in less than the 5 seconds that the caption says it will take for him to hit. I saw that pointy-eared hombre twisting this here wheel to make us go around the corners, and since I ain't got no time to do nothing else, might as well give it a try.
Let's tell each other what we're gonna do before we do it, and then do it.
I know that this is really just conventions of the period with comic writing, but it also goes to show how utterly ridiculous the convention is and why most writers stopped doing it. Or maybe it's just another sign that in comics, talking is a free action. But yeah, the turn at the last moment instead sends him slamming into some other cars, and he's thrown free of it. To make Jonah Hex's day even more confusing, he spots the Djinn from the last 2 issues flying down towards him.
I did not wish to flee the Manticore, Hex, not before a satisfactory conclusion to our fight. But thankfully, Beast and Kongorilla were available to keep the Manticore busy, while something far more important awaits me here. I know you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, Jonah Hex, but I felt it necessary to exposit a bit to you. However, the Djinn isn't actually interested in Jonah Hex, but rather the glowing chunk of rock that brought him into the future. He picks it up and flies off, causing the people who were in the car to vanish, and Hex himself to teleport back to his own time in 1876. Back where I started, so I might as well collect the bounty on these skunks I plugged, and hope I've seen the last of that weird other place.
Given the track record so far, Val Kilmer's gonna come out of the shadows now and tell Jonah, I'm your Huckleberry. We cut over to San Diego with the Manticore crushing Kongorilla and Beast. As I mentioned, Beast has that whole animal fusion power, so he comes up with the idea of fusing the Manticore and Kongorilla, the shock from this allowing him to escape. From there, it's a quick game of brain swapping, the merged being rubbing Congo Bill's ring to send his consciousness back into his own body, the Manticore's coming along for the ride, before swapping back again, just as Beast separates the two once more.
Bah! I know not what manner of sorcery has been at work here, but I have no further business with you. Look, I've been asleep for like hundreds of years, and this is not what I was expecting to do when I first woke up. Can we call it a draw or something?
He says he needs to go find the other and flies off. We then cut over to Superman on the moon, and we finally get to see this symbol from a dead person. Namely, it's the letter D. This is a weird Sesame Street alphabet skit.
Indeed, it belongs to the one who calls himself Deadman.
Oh, of course! How can I not see it? It clearly resembles Deadman's D logo. What with it? being the letter D. What?
Perhaps this ties in with that demon coming out of dead James Hoyt's body. Or does it?
Maybe it has to do with dinosaurs, which also starts with the letter D. No, wait. Clearly it's a sign for dongs, which also begins with that letter. No, wait. The greatest villain of all, didgeridoo. Admittedly, the dead man connection with a spirit possessing a body isn't a bad thing to look into, but seriously, a D-shaped burn in the rocks means dead man? Like, what if it wasn't even meant to be a D, but a half circle or something? Whatever he says, this still doesn't explain the weird telepathic message he got while fighting the demon, and is off to meet with Jimmy Olsen, who apparently wanted to talk to him. Then it's over to Midway City Museum, where Batman is meeting with Carter and Sahara Hall, aka Hawkman and Hawkgirl.
Batman, what can we do for you?
The experts in Gotham could tell me only that this tablet is a simple Old English account of the knight's quest for the Holy Grail. But it must be much more than that. It has Spam-A-Lot lyrics on it before even Monty Python and the Holy Grail came out.
And after explaining why it must be more...
So you see, Carter, this tablet was stolen by One Face. Who knows what sort of diabolical schemes he had planned?
He leaves the tablet with them while he heads off to look into the sequence of numbers also left behind. Soon enough, they uncover that a segment of the tablet has been removed and replaced with some kind of putty that resembles stone, obviously put in long after the origins of the tablet. Yes, Carter, and the plug area contains a key portion of the tablet's narrative. There's no climax for Act 2! Nothing makes sense in this version without it! As such, Carter wonders if the message on the tablet was deliberately altered. They can't think about that for long, though. Listen, Carter, the radio!
For the last time, Sahara, I'm just not into Ed Sheeran.
Actually, the radio is informing listeners of the Manticore attacking downtown Midway City. As such, they quickly change into Hawkman and Hawkgirl to confront it, though we soon see that Carter's choice of weapon is the Viking lance that contains the Viking Prince. Meanwhile, back over to Superman as he talks to Jimmy Olsen.
You spoke to a dead man, Jimmy?
I mean, this is the DC Universe Superman, it's not that uncommon. Jimmy explains about Floyd seeing Bogart and the weird missing floor. So naturally, they're doing the only sane thing here to try to get more information out of Floyd Perkins. Hypnosis! And according to the caption, this is happening at the Galaxy Communications building. So do all TV stations have a hypnotist on the payroll? I'm not doubting it, because make your own jokes about TV rotting your brain or getting you to buy stuff via ads here, but like, a hypnotist for the staff? Floyd recounts to the hypnotist what he saw in the first issue, and it seems Superman is bored by all this since he flies off. Actually, he flies up to the roof to investigate. He can detect some residual heat radiation that may have indicated a false top floor, as well as some on the broadcasting antenna.
But what could that mean?
It means it's too hot for TV, indicating that Jerry Springer is involved. Hawkman and Hawkgirl engage the Manticore in battle while the Djinn drops off the chunk of rock it got from Jonah Hex next to the tablet. Hawkman tosses the Viking lance into the Manticore's jewel on its head.
Forehead gem is shattered, and chaos is unleashed.
But we don't see that chaos, since immediately on the next page, the two are just lying on the ground, or rather the pink void.
Too much pink energy is dangerous.
None the worse for wear. The Manticore is gone, but a chunk of its forehead gem now appears to contain the Viking Prince.
Great Thanagar, look! There's a tiny man trapped inside this shard.
Sahara, I finally have my own pet! Over in the desert, a vulture decides to fly a bit closer to Aquaman, thinking he's dead, and we get one of the more infamous moments of this comic. Aquaman grabs the vulture by the neck and bites into it. And because so much of blood is made of water, it hydrates him enough to continue on. So basically what this comic is teaching us is that Atlanteans are really just vampires. He tosses the vulture's body to the others, and vultures normally only feast on their own if they're extremely hungry, so yeah, these guys must have been starving. An hour later, Aquaman has found an actual oasis and not a mirage, fully immersing himself in the water.
Cool, rejuvenating water, fed by underground springs and rich in plankton, if not other aquatic life.
So at least he'll have a snack when he moves on. When he emerges from the water, several members of the Justice League are waiting for him, explaining that they found him thanks to his JLA signal device. Aquaman explains that the reason he came down here was because he detected the unusual transmission beams originating from the moon and went to where the beams were headed, an excavation site in the Sahara. He overheard diggers saying that they were looking for for cuneiforms of Allah's sacred words that would give them the power to defeat all. And I didn't call anybody to let them know what was up because, well, it was really hot, you know? He went into a tent to get a disguise, but in there he discovered a large alien device. And I also saw that the diggers were not really Arabs, which makes it kind of weird that they were talking about Allah. Is Islam a big religion in space and we just didn't notice? Back with the Hawks, they put the hunk of stone left for them into the hole in the tablet, and it fits perfectly. The narrative on it revealing a coded place and time in the Peruvian jungle in less than 12 hours. Hawkman decides to investigate and tells Hawkgirl to stay behind in case Batman calls with additional information. Or maybe you should contact him with the information you have? Why is everyone in the JLA so phone shy? And indeed, Batman has some info of his own from his study of the numbers.
Good lord, the solution to this sequence of numbers. It could be the end of the world.
It's gonna turn out he forgot to carry the 1, and it's just gonna be someone doing an overly elaborate 42069 joke. Hawkman is apparently out of contact for that time because we cut to him arriving at the coordinates he found. However, it's apparently a trap as a beam of light hits him and transports him away. Specifically, it was a Zeta beam, and I realize now that I might not have explained Adam Strange before. If I have, well, it's been 665 episodes, I forget. Anyway, Adam Strange is a DC space character, an archaeologist who was accidentally transported to the planet Rann via the Zeta beam. There, he was equipped with a goofy-looking spacesuit, jetpack, and laser gun, and he proceeded to battle evil. I love how no matter how far away we get from his initial appearance in the 50s, they've kept the spacesuit to match it so it will always look like a pulpy sci-fi suit. I call it goofy lovingly, it's just kind of nifty in that way. Anyway, the Zeta beam is kind of a unique teleportation method, because it's temporary. The energy from the Zeta beam eventually fades and you're immediately transported back to where you started from, and yet they still charge you an arm and a leg for the return ticket. Hawkman soon meets up with Adam Strange, who explains that Rann is under attack by large creatures similar to the Manticore. Sardath, Adam's father-in-law and the scientist who created the Zeta beam, explains that the creatures have somehow been able to extract power from Rann's historical icons. Icons my ass! Flobar Pultipen stole that Oscar win from Yorel Plobus. Alana, Adam's wife, says that another faction has risen up. The historical icons are deliberately destroying everything, but this other group, representing mythological beings from Rann's past, are trying to fight them. Still, even if they're trying to help, the fighting is tearing the place apart, and it's likely the same escalation is going to happen to Earth. Figuring it might be a piece of the puzzle, Hawkman shows them the Viking Prince trapped in the gem fragment, and what a coinkydink! Sardath has a device just for that, restoring the Viking Prince to life. However, before he can talk, the roof starts collapsing from the fighting, and Hawkman is knocked out. And the Zeta beam surrounding Adam Strange starts to fade and teleporting him back to Earth. Cliffhanger number 1. And with Hawkman sprawled unconscious, Alana, Sardath, and the Viking Prince are left to face the looming monster, alone and weaponless. Fortunately, the monster just wanted money for bus fare. Back in the Sahara, Aquaman finishes explaining everything to the League. But it turns out that it was a trick. It's actually the aliens who all aim guns at him. Cliffhanger number 2. Aquaman is in the soup.
I'm at soup!
Back in Peru, Batman and Hawkgirl have finally caught up to where Hawkman was, but then a creature emerges from the side of a cliff, giving us a literal cliffhanger as Sahara loses her wings and Batman is holding her up from a tree root. And so our comic ends with Adam Strange coming into the area, knowing where the next Zeta beam is supposed to hit, but he has to choose between helping the two superheroes or returning to Rann. Next issue, watch Paul Levitz and Gil Kane squirm, and somebody better decipher those blamed numbers soon, as they present Atomic Knights. You're gonna nuke people because they haven't deciphered the numbers? Harsh. Anyway, this issue is overall pretty decent. I'd say its biggest failing is in the art. There's a lot left to be desired for backgrounds and sequential storytelling, but I'd say that's mostly because Doug Mensch apparently decided, hey, this issue means we're at a quarter of the way through, maybe it's time to start giving some answers to what the hell is going on, instead of just more weirdness. It doesn't explain everything, and some of the explanations we do get still tilt my head a bit, but at least we're closer to understanding some of the mysteries of the book, like the dead people reappearing, or the presence of the giant monster and Jinn and everything. It's not not perfect, but the story feels like it's actually moving forward. That being said, already the story is getting a bit overcrowded, as evidenced by the decision to have 3 cliffhangers instead of just the one they're supposed to. I'm hoping that by shoving Jonah Hex back to the past, the story was attempting to keep him out, since there's really no reason for him to stick around and be any more involved, but we'll see in future issues if anyone decides to bring him back and further overcomplicate things. But yeah, this one wasn't too bad. Next time, the reason why I didn't just cancel an episode, despite the fact that the last few have been running a bit behind. It's the 666th episode, and I've got something special for that.
I'm sitting on my couch reviewing comics. The worst words that you will ever see. It's sad that comic books are for geeks. Rather not, they're for everybody. Linkara. If you doubt that I am the man, I am a man.
Superman, all of you! But how did you find me here? We homed in on your JLA signal device. Look, before I explain what's going on, did any of you bring a vulture? I am parched.
Hello my friends, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon or purchase a t-shirt via Teespring or Shark Robot. Thanks for watching!